Hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast, It's Good to Talk, and it sure is good to talk. And I always have interesting guests on. Today is no exception. I'll get to John Joseph in a minute after I do my promos. Liffey Van Lines is one of my sponsors here in New York City, and they've been around, longer than Jeopardy, longer than New York City Marathon. And when it comes to moving, at Liffey do the lift, and they're very professional. They'll come into my topic in a few minutes too. My other great friend is ArchExaminerUSA.com, a newspaper for all the events here in New York City and outside New York City. It was a busy month for the newspaper New York Examiner USA. Paddy McCarthy is the editor and publisher, and he had a busy month with all the events going on with St. Patrick's Day Parade. Indeed, I marched, and the Mayo Society marched, and the Grand Marshal was Maggie Tymony from Ballina. She is the CEO and top woman for Heineken USA. Great achievement for a woman from Mayo, of course. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to a bar that I frequent a lot. Hendrickson's Bar is on 61st Street on 1st Avenue. My friend played some music there a week ago, Niall O'Hagan, and they have a fantastic menu. There is trivia night there on Thursday nights. And on Sundays, they do bingo. If you go there for the bingo on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, chances are you will meet some of my ex-girlfriends. 2 fat ladies, 88, 2 walking sticks, 77, 2 little ducks, 22, and 1 duck is number 2. And if you want to know where Downing Street is, that's number 10, Hawaii 50. Okay, I'm going to move along. I did bump into another friend who was on my podcast, Adam Cardona, sports medical massage therapist, and he had a busy week as well, because when you march up Fifth Avenue, you have sore feet and sore legs. Anyways, let me jump right forward. My guest today is John Joseph. John, tell me about you, what you do, where you were born, and then we'll explore you more.
Absolutely. So I am a professional archivist, which is almost like a museum curatorial type job. I went to school for library sciences at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, near Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. Lived in New York for a while, bounced around from there, and lived on San Francisco Bay Area for a little bit, Philadelphia, and then back to New York. I always keep coming back to New York, so...
I always tell even my friends like JP and Ashton, I think you met them briefly, and they just moved recently to Texas. I tell everybody,
I'm sorry.
you met. I always tell people like that, when you leave New York City, you're going fucking nowhere. You always have to come back. That's New York City. So I looked up some stuff there. A friend of yours got you involved in some journalist work with Art Nerd. Tell me a little bit about that before we move on to...
Yeah, so my friend, Lori Zimmer, she started a website called Art Nerd New York ages ago. It's no longer functioning because she's busy doing other things and writing books and stuff. But her site was more art-focused, art history, amongst other things. She would talk about it, do like sort of articles, and then give you an idea where the certain thing happened or an address. And she asked me to contribute something literature-based for New York literature-based for every week. So I called it Lit Nerd. And I used to do it relatively frequently, actually. Once a week I had to go, and I think I have about 30 or 40 articles. That kind of fell off when I got busy. But and that site, like as I mentioned, is no longer active, but the articles are still there.
I did look up some stuff, and it's interesting. Now, I can kind of segue into there. I ran art shows on the Upper East Side before the coronavirus and during lockdown, outdoor art, for artists that can't afford to go to galleries, okay? And somewhere along the way, I made the acquaintance with an art dealer, well-known art dealer called Andrew Crispo. Andrew Crispo is famous. He only died this February, only a month gone, at the age of 78. I met him several times from the moving and storage business and all that. And I should have written his epitaph because he was a likable rogue. He was barred from Sotheby's auction house. And you'd imagine it's difficult to be barred from an auction house. I can't imagine being barred from a pub or a bar, but to be barred from an auction house. Andrew was good friends with Andy Warhol. And way before that, a lot of controversy, like the death of a student from Norway, Fashion Institute student. There was a movie made about that, which was extremely sad. But Andrew himself, like a lot of charismatic rogues, shall we call them, I wish I had my podcast in, because I did ask him a lot of questions about the art world, especially the fake side of the art world, okay? Your friend would love the story. Because he basically would tell me the backdrop to it. So the fake art, say if I wanted to paint, which I wouldn't, but if I did want to paint the Mona Lisa, I would take a photograph of her and make like squares, like I do for my Super Bowl grids. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's like painting by numbers. Anyways, Andrew Crispo, when he died a month ago, he was friends with Andy Warhol, and he told me, I can say this because he's dead now, but he did tell me before Andy Warhol, and I read one article your friend did there about one of the sub companies, was it Colgate or Palmolive, that the friend of Andy Warhol's was commissioned to do a painting for Colgate or Palmolive, and it was turned down. And the guy was disappointed. He brought it home. He put it behind the radiator in his house. And then he died eventually. And his wife sold it to who? Andrew Crispo.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, it was sold for $250,000, but it had to go to France to be, what's the big word there?
Appraised?
Well, more than appraised, authenticated.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Authenticated, yeah. It had one stain in the back of it that made it kind of dubious. And in front of Maharan, who's another jewellery friend of mine, and a few other guys, Andrew said, did we know what was the stain, what caused the stain? So we all thought, the guy put it behind the radiator. Maybe it was dampness. Maybe it was this. Anyways, I'll give you the answer. It was like when you wrap a Christmas gift and you put the sellotape there. It was right there where you put the sellotape, and the glue from the sellotape melted into the painting. But it was the original painting before Andy Warhol became famous with the Campbell soup. And the rest
Oh, my
is history.
God. Wow.
Andrew bought it from his wife for €250, and he sold it for $250,000. Sorry, dollars. I'm in euro mode here. John, back to you again.
Yeah.
So you were doing the journalism for your friend, Art Nerd, okay? And I'm fascinated with that. And I will go back into the old ones. That's the good thing about, as you, in the world you live in, about having something stored there. So
Yeah.
pick up where we left off with the Art Nerd. You were with your friend doing the Art Nerd articles every week.
Yeah.
You did a lot. So where to next for you? You're a young man, of course, but
youngish. I don't know. I'll be 50 in
I'm one of
August.
the 70 is young to me. I mean, you could run for president.
Well, I think actually when we met at PJ Clark's, a bunch of us were hanging out, and she was there, and she said, you should, you have all these articles, so you should try to compile those into a book form, kind of like what she did. And I'm like, yeah, it's about getting motivated, and it just kind of like spurred the creative juices flowing. So I think what I'm trying to work on now, and we're talking super early stages, like today, is creating some sort of proposal to get that going and get that done. It'll probably take a while. I mean, a lot of it's already pre-written, but I need to expand on it and things like that, and maybe incorporate some literary history sites in Los Angeles, because I'm familiar with that as well. So that is sort of like what I'm looking at to do other than my work as an archivist. That's busy, and I also have a 6-year-old, so that's also busy.
that does delay things a bit. But I produced a book. My friend Stoney McGurn is right behind it. And that took a few years. Like Stoney wrote it, by the way, with a pencil, okay? And people ask that question sometimes, why do you write it with a pencil? Well, a couple of reasons. He's not very good at spelling words. So if he made a mistake, he would use the rubber on top of the pencil to erase if he made a mistake. You know the old saying, make no mistakes and you don't need a rubber. But he made a lot of mistakes with the pencil. And then it was my job to format it and correct the spellings, okay? So we were a bit like a combination of Steve Hawkins, describes him. I'm like a Helen Keller, I guess. But we still were able to produce a book. So I think you'll be fine, because you have a lot of your material already there. So all you have to do is enhance it. And if you need help with publishing, you can come back to me.
Oh, I'll take you. I will take you up on that.
To help you. I like to see progress, especially for people that are young, under the age of 70. Okay, so Andrew Crispo was 78 when he died, and he had quite a full life, to say the least. But let's get back now to where you are today with your real job, shall we call it?
My real job. So I am talking to you from Columbus, Ohio. My wife and I moved here with our kiddo from Brooklyn in 2019, just because we were hemorrhaging money. And her family lives here, so that's kind of the impetus. I won't lie, we miss it. We definitely miss New York, and there's always a temptation to move back. So that's always on.
You're always welcome back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I worked at a children's hospital here, in charge of their history. So their 130-year-old history. So I kind of work with that. And
The hospital is 130 years old.
the hospital is 130 years old. Interesting thing that just happened is the first patient, I got to interview her granddaughter, California, a couple of months ago. So that was interesting.
That's very interesting.
So yeah, I'm sort of like the steward, for lack of a better word, in charge of the hospital's history. So I've always loved history, and I went to library school, and nothing against traditional librarians, but I kind of focused into the curatorial realm of that. So been doing that for 10, 12 years.
Excuse me. Let's delve into that a little bit. So
Yeah,
in the library, in the hospital, right?
sure.
What is your day-to-day job? Do you go into the library and research medical journals for doctors? All right.
Day-to-day job is actually, taking care of the collection off and on through the course of the time I'm there, but also doing a lot of digitization work. So I do digital archives as well. So it's not just like the physical paper photographs. So
Well, go ahead.
no, I'm doing a full scale digitizing project with the records there. And then certain departments will get in touch with me if they have an anniversary or something. They want to pull photos up and confirm things. So it's mostly that day to day.
Okay. Well, I'm a bit of a bookworm myself.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the books in the library.
Sure.
Are there really old books?
No, actually, it's solely a medical library. So there's actually not. There's mostly journals. I can't. I'm not gonna try to embellish it. It's not the most interesting book collection there because it's mostly focused on the hospital.
Well, maybe where I was going. If you know the answer, say yes. If you don't, say no.
Okay.
I had a girl on a few weeks ago, and we did the same kind of a quiz. So
yeah.
I studied Latin for a year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that a lot of Latin comes into medicine. A lot of doctors don't know how to do handwriting. A lot of lawyers. I'll avoid lawyers, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of legal work is also in terms of Latin and Latin words. And sometimes you wonder, is it confuse the client or confuse the patient that the Latin phrases are thrown into, maybe not the journal, as you say, but have you a comment on that, or?
Well, I can't actually because I haven't come across that actually at all in the work I do. I'll be honest.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll leave that there. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just my passion, I guess, for the Latin language because anyway, it's the dead language, but you might come across it in some of your research in the medical science. Okay.
I was. I'm old enough to know a couple years before I started high school when they just got rid of Latin language class. So I kind of remember that kind of floating a little bit.
It was involved in the church as well with the Latin Mass, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
My sister had a Latin Mass said for her late husband a year ago. And one thing, I don't go to Mass, but I had to go to that. The music is amazing. The voice and the singing is absolutely fantastic. So I won't take away from the Latin Mass or the Latin itself. Tell us a bit more about the hospital, the hospital where you work in terms of the logistics and the location and the number of children that are treated and what type of ailments, if you know.
Well, I can't get into specifics of the number and the ailments, but it's located right downtown in Columbus. It's been at the current site since 1922. The building is the original building's not there anymore, but so it takes it's a busy place, and it's working in a hospital. Even though I'm not in the major areas, so when you walk around, I got to be honest with you, seeing sick kids is a bummer.
Oh, I know that.
So,
yeah,
but it's good. It's interesting. There's interesting history there. I'm working with a neighborhood getting a plaque put up where the original hospital was. I'm doing stuff for the community as well.
That's important stuff to do for the community. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I admire you for that. That's very important.
Yeah,
it's very important to keep the history going.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm working for United Ireland, which is about 6 years away from now, 2030.
That's right. I saw that.
Thank you very much. You obviously read my podcast or listened to my podcast. So that's coming up. So those things are important for the next generations to know what happened before they were there. And when you mention a bummer to watch, Ronald McDonald's is here in New York City, and a lot of children with terminal brain cancer arrive here, and some make it and some don't, unfortunately. I did have another scientist on here, Sergey, he works in Sloan Catering. The podcast was all about the research, and I must get him back on again because I tend to get impatient sometimes with topics like that. Your topic is pretty easy, to say the least. No reflection on you. But when it comes to brain cancer and cancer, we all want the cure, and we say, what the hell, like, you're long enough researching it. You should have something by now, you know?
Well, yeah. I'm with you on that because my mother passed away from that like 30 years ago. So
yeah, okay. So I'll have to get Sergey back on again to see where they're at. He's someone, or the topic is someone who I would like to put like a monthly time check on them and say, what did you do today? You know, it's like, what did you do today to make the world a better place? What did you do today to help with research? I know there was some research made this week in terms of cells for other cancers, which are progressing good, and that progress is good. But Sergey did tell me that the brain is really the complex and tricky one, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Difficult. Indeed, when I met Adam Cardona last week, medical massage sports therapist, medical therapist, and he was giving me advice as well about, well, I guess he was giving it to me about cardiovascular health. And he told me, he said, you know, John, he said, the size of your heart is the size of your fist. I said, Adam, my heart is fucking huge, man. He said, no. Your heart is the size of your fist, but it does a lot of work. When it stops working, I said, what happens when it stops working? You're fucked. Thank you, Adam. Okay, so moving on. I'm glad you laugh at that, because you got to laugh at things, even if they sound somewhat cynical. So you are still working in that job.
Yes, I am.
Your wife over there, you have your 6-year-old baby over there, still a baby. That's a real baby.
Oh, not a baby anymore.
Well, they grow up fast, yeah, don't we all? So the future for you, it looks like you're going to be there.
Yeah, I'm currently here, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, you never know what the future's gonna to bring. So currently, it's all good here.
Yeah, it's good to talk, John, with you today. Especially, it's an interesting story, an interesting topic, and I always do have interesting topics on. Another question for you.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to take books home with you?
I can. I don't know if there's anything in there necessarily that I would take home.
Would it be classified, declassified?
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not classified information.
Okay. So in other words, you're there long enough all day. You want to research something, you do it. You don't bring it home, sit on the toilet bowl and start reading it, or your wife will say, "John, come on, fuck out of here."
Now, I have books here I need to read. I got to work on those first.
So, like, me too. So I had a long week. So I'm going to have Jimmy Grady come in and sing a song for you and for me.
Yeah.
Because of the long week we had, and for my listeners. Jimmy is growing up too. When I met him first, he was 10 years old, and now he's 12, I think. Well, actually, he's 12 and a half, because those half years are important. But he's going to sing a song past the point of rescue, okay?
Okay.
Because I feel I'm past the point of rescue after all the activities in March. I usually sign off in my native language, which is Irish. So I'm going to say goodbye to you in Australia, and I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. I'm going to tell them that we had a story. There's always another story. I'm going to say Slán go fóill. That means goodbye. I'll meet you again or see you again. Slán Abhaile, safe home. That means you're at home. Sin Scéal means that's the story. Agus Sin Scéal Eile, that means there's always another story. Now let me get Jimmy. Jimmy, are you ready? Come on, come out here and sing a song for John and the audience. He'll be out in a minute. John, thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you.
Until we meet again, we'll say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed it.
Last night I dreamed you were back again. larger than life again, holding me tight again, placing those same kisses on my brow, sweeter than ever now. Lord, I remember how couldn't get enough of kissing. Do you know how much you're missing? No, you don't, but I do. The days like a slow train trickle by, and even the words that I write refuse to fly. All I can hear is your song haunting me. Can't get the melody out of my head, you see. Distractions are amusing. Do you know how much you're losing? No, you don't. But I do, and I wonder if I'm past the point of rescue. Is no word from you at all the best that you can do? Never meant to push or shove you. Do you know how much I love you? No, you don't, but I do. I swore I'd never fall like this again. Fools like me never win. Came to my knees again. Can't close the door on a likelihood. Things might be just as good. I always believed they would. Gotta let your love invite me. Baby, do you think it might be? No, you don't. But I do, and I wonder if I'm past the point of rescue. Is no word from you at all the best that you can do? Never meant to push or shove you. Do you know how much I love you? No, you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do.
Way to go, Jimmy. Way